Hey folks, Dust here, and I want to discuss something a little bit different in this video, as primarily this channel has been focused on CSGO esports related content. I have at times dabbled in other areas, particularly with the game of Time 1944, as that was a game I was very interested in, and still am interested in, but it's definitely had some really huge issues, and everyone's kind of on standby mode until the full release of that game comes out. But there's been a new game that's kind of captivated me lately, and it's captivated obviously a shit ton of people, and that is of course the new Battle Royale from Respawn, the makers of Titanfall, and it is their new game Apex Legends, which had a crazy surprise release not so long before me releasing this video, and it has had a crazy amount of success since then. I mean, it was in development in secret essentially, very few leaks came out, and then they came out and they did a live stream where they showed some cinematic trailers of the game, kind of talked through, the legends and what they did and kind of some of the basics of what Apex Legends would be, and then lo and behold, instead of saying, hey, early access is coming soon or beta is coming soon, no, you can go download the game right now. It's free, and guess what? This isn't beta, this isn't early access. The game's fucking done. It's a finished product, and it is a well-polished product at that, I must say. It was a very smooth day one release, even with all the server load, very little issues with downtime, very little issues with bugs and crashes, at least on my end. And it seems like a lot of people I know didn't really have too much trouble playing the game. It runs great, it looks great, it's a super fun game, and man, oh man, it's just, the hype bug has got me this time for sure. And that is because I have played pretty much every Battle Royale game there is on the PC. It started out with games like H1Z1 and PUBG, and I still quite enjoy PUBG. I think it's actually come a long way, and it's still a fun game to play, and I definitely see the value of it, and I wish it the best when it comes to its esports scene. It's something I've even been interested in dabbling in. But it's a different kind of Battle Royale game. It's a little bit more slow pace, it's a little bit more tactical, it's a little bit more just a different flow of game. Whereas when you think of some of the other Battle Royales, a little bit faster paced, like a Fortnite, like a Blackout, and like this game, Apex Legends. Obviously, Fortnite is kind of off on its own with all the building aspects of the game and the different quirky updates that they make on a pretty regular basis and how they throw them in, which has at times been very controversial. But it just wasn't my game. I wasn't really into the building. So the main Battle Royale games I have been playing, it was essentially some PUBG here and there, and then I was actually playing a lot of Blackout lately, just because I kind of enjoy the faster pace. I enjoy the gunplay of Call of Duty games. It is smooth. This was a well-optimized version of Call of Duty on PC, unlike some other Call of Duties in the past, like Ghost in particular. So I was actually having some fun this time around with Call of Duty on PC. They did a good job this time around. But this game, when I saw the different streamers playing it and stuff like that, it looked great, and I picked it up, and I have just been super impressed by this game really all the way through. For one, I think that they've nailed the basics, the fundamentals of a Battle Royale in this game. They nailed the gunplay. It's really good. You feel rewarded for having good aim. All the guns are quite viable, depending on what type of player you want to be, whether you want to try to be super accurate with the wingman and pop off shots and do a shit ton of damage, or whether you want to go the full auto route. Obviously, the shotguns are powerful. There's some good snipers in the game. It has really good gunplay and pretty good balancing. I'll get to that a little bit later. The movement obviously is fantastic. I'm not surprised, coming from Titanfall with some really cool movement mechanics to actually kind of tone this game down in comparison to Titanfall and what you can do in that game. So yeah, obviously the movement was good. Overall, some of this is great. I think the game looks good. I mean, I feel like I've heard some complaints about the graphics, but I don't see how that could be the case. I think the game looks great currently and runs really well. It's really well optimized, which is something a lot of other Battle Royales really struggled with at launch. Also, the audio is amazing in this game. I mean, I never really question where footsteps are coming from, where gunfire is coming from. The directional sound is really good, and that's something that some games do struggle with. I mean, I still had that issue in some really big games where sometimes I will second guess myself a little bit on whether I heard something, or I'll be a little bit confused where I heard it coming from. In this game, I've hardly ever run into that. I feel like it's really spot on. I think that's a really huge thing to point out. So not only have they nailed the fundamentals, but this game has also just added a bunch of features I feel like we've wanted in other Battle Royale games, or at least I have, and I feel like from the opinions I see out there that this is very much the case. And they for one, added this really insanely detailed pinging system. I mean, being able to not only ping where you're going or a spot on the map, like a lot of battle royales have, you can also ping whether you're seeing an enemy live, whether you think an enemy's been through a certain location. You can ping basically request for essentially anything, whether it's ammo, attachments for your gun, where you want to go loot next, etc. I mean, the pinging system's so good in this game, you can virtually play it without having to have a microphone. Don't get me wrong. If you're really competitive, you still want to have a microphone for good, clear voice communication. And look, I mean, also, there's just certain situations where voice communication is still going to be prime. And that is actually one of the downfalls of this game. I said the audio is amazing, and I like some of the features they've added, but the in-game like audio codec or whatever is actually quite bad. Like the microphone quality it doesn't really come through, so hopefully that's something they're going to address going forward. But either way, the pinging system is excellent. I think we've called for that type of thing in other battle royales in the past, and I think that this game really nails that pinging system, so got to give them a shout out to that. I also think it's neat that you jump together, so there's never going to be any issues with maybe landing in the wrong spot. There's some miscommunication, or someone got lost as they were falling because they were checking their mini map or something like that, or they were doing something else and weren't paying attention during the fall. As long as you don't decide to peel off on your own, you're guaranteed to all land together as a unit. I think that's actually really great. I like that feature. I also really love this quality of life feature in this game where you automatically swap compatible attachments when you pick up a new gun. That is just, you know, really eases the frustration of having to go through your inventory and drop things and pick things back up. They just did that so well, and that is something I really want in other Battle Royale games, and I think that's great that they've had that. Also, there's some other cool little neat things that they've done that isn't really a part of other Battle Royale games. For one, the way that you can fast travel in this game is a little bit different than some other games, and I actually kind of like that. You know, there's no vehicles or anything like that. Obviously, though, you're able to use like the zip lines, use the balloons, different things like that, and so you're still able to get away from the circle even if you got a little bit unlucky on your starting location. And even now, there's certain mechanics with that balloon system where you can travel quite a distance, and I'm not sure if that's going to stay or not, and that's intentional, but if it is, I mean, that's actually really cool how they've done that. I also like the fact that it's not just about picking up knocked teammates. You can actually revive a dead teammate. You have an extended period of time to try to pick up their card or whatever it is and deliver them to a respawn location and get them back in the game. You know, obviously they come back with no loot. They have to go loot again, which is fair enough for balancing purposes, but I just think it's neat that there's that extra way to get people back into the game after they've been knocked. You can also strategize around team fights based on that. So I think that that is a really cool addition to this game. Now, there's a few other additions that I'm probably not thinking of right now, but one of the things I do want to hit on now is the Legends aspect. For one, I think that these characters are really well designed. I think the voice acting is quite good. Maybe some of the voice lines get a little bit annoying once you hear them enough times, but I think overall the design of these characters is great. I think their names are good. They're not some stupid generic things, but they're not also overly complicated. They're memorable, and they suit the character and what their skill set is and what their style of play is. So I think that they did really good with that. And look, this is not the first game to have, you know, kind of a class-based system on picking a hero that has a skill set. You know, obviously Realm Royale had that in the Battle Royale genre, and obviously MOBAs have been famous for that forever, and Overwatch is really big on that, and there's probably some other Battle Royale games that'll come out with something similar, but they put their own little twist on it, and I think they did a great job on, you know, making all these characters very useful. And this is kind of leading me into my next topic with the fact that the hidden gem of this game is the fact that it's so well balanced when it comes to the legends, when it comes to the weapons and things of that nature. So with the legends, every single legend currently is viable to use. Don't get me wrong, some legends are a little bit more team-centric than others, where some are a little bit more selfish and individualistic, but all of them are quite good. All of them have skills that are useful. All of them have alts that are useful, but most importantly, none of them are overpowered. None of the alts or skill sets are a get-out-of-jail-free card, or, you know, some type of gimmicky bullshit that can save you even though you're the worst player in a fight or something like that. You know, obviously, you still have to think about positioning. You have to think about timing. You have to think about how good your aim is. You have to think about how you're setting up crossfires or how you're taking a fight with your teammates, how you're kind of keeping tabs on your surroundings so you're not getting third-partied. You know, if you are the better player in this game, you have the better aim, or you're using the better tactics, or, you know, you're positioning better, whatever the case may be, no matter what skill or alt someone uses, if you're the better player, you can still win the fight. I think that that is really cool that they have taken a new turn on how alts works. I feel like in a lot of games, alts and certain skills can feel like really bullshit, and you know, they can feel kind of OP or something like that. If anything, some of the things in this game might be a little bit underwhelming, right? For me, I think it's a nice change of pace, and I wouldn't really touch any of the really alts or skills or anything like that. I'm sure there could be some tweaks here and there, but overall, I think the game is really balanced with all these legends, and I think the guns are fairly well balanced as well. I think that there's certain guns that might be a little bit overpowered. I know a lot of talk has been going around the Wingman, for instance, for this, and maybe even the Peacekeeper, but I don't think it's too bad. I mean, I think that all the guns are still quite viable, except for maybe a couple, like the Mozambique, for instance, I feel is definitely something I don't ever really want to keep my hands on if I don't have to. So it's not as if everything is crazy viable, but it doesn't really have to be. Like, there's enough guns that I feel like you can get good use out of. You can kind of choose whether or not you want to think about closer range more, having the Peacekeeper, whether you want to think about medium range more, whether you want to, risk it with the longbow so you can have a ranged weapon, but a really slow fire rate. So if you get pushed, you have to make sure you have the right secondary weapon to help you out. So I think you can still kind of mix and match and kind of think about what style of play you want, what type of distance fighting you want to focus on. I think that they've done really well making everything quite viable. I think the grenades are also really good in this game. Like, I love the arc stars, the frag grenades, the thermite, all of them have their uses and are practical. And I think they've done a really good job with that as well. So in general, I just think they've nailed the fundamentals. They've added some cool new features we want in other battle royales. They've done really well with their legends and adding that kind of class basis to the game. And I think the game is phenomenally balanced. And to kind of make some final thoughts here, I actually like the cosmetics in this game. I think they look great. Even the ones that are more common, like the rare blues or something like that, which you're basically guaranteed to get at least 1 or 2 in an Apex pack, they still look good. They don't feel shitty just because they're not rare. Like, they're actually nice paint jobs on the guns. And same can be said for the pinks, the more rare ones. Those also add some animations. They make it really different. Like, you can really tell a difference between a blue and a pink. And the cool thing about the legendary cosmetics is that they add new textures. They completely kind of change the shape of the gun. It's not just a new paint job. It really does feel like it's something special, something new. And I'm sure the heirloom thing is going to be pretty crazy going forward also, if I had to guess. I also like the fact that they're reasonably priced, basically $1 to open up an Apex pack, and they are really transparent about the drop rates, which I guess is something that you're going to have to kind of start moving towards anyway because of the legality of these cosmetics and things like that, with all the stuff kind of going on, microtransactions and skins and all that good stuff between different games. But at least they had it out the gate, and definitely can appreciate that. And that's the other big thing I want to add here at the end about the cosmetics, is that you can pretty much get everything without having to spend a dime if you play enough. As you level up, as you get free Apex packs, you get access to virtually everything. You get enough legend tokens from playing, you can buy the characters you need to unlock. You don't have to spend money except for super exclusive skins and if you want to get to things faster. And so I think that that's really cool that things are still very much attainable even without getting into the microtransaction system. And we'll have to see what the seasonal passes do. That hasn't even come out yet as I'm recording this video. Obviously, that'll come out a little bit later, but I'm curious to see what their take is on that. And really my thoughts for the future is I think this game is bright, and we already could see that. I mean, they went from being able to get to 10 million players in just a few days to, after kind of one of their opening weekends, they're already up to 25 million players. They went from a concurrent of over 1 million to now a concurrent well over 2 million. So the game's definitely trending upward, and it's doing a great job, and it'll just now be up to, Respawn to see if they can keep patching the game well to kind of make good updates that we want or that they feel is appropriate to, maybe add new content in a meaningful way on a regular basis. I mean, apparently they're already going to be adding at least one new legend with the season pass that comes up very soon. So that's actually a pretty quick turnover of being able to add something as big as a new legend to the game. That's a big piece of new content. And so, yeah, I think that, that things are really looking bright for them going forward. As far as whether this game has staying power, that's always going to be hard to tell, right? Because you never know what new game might be on the horizon that might catch people's attention, because a lot of it is streamer driven. You see big name streamers playing a game, you think it looks cool, you're going to want to go play it. And so they obviously were able to do paid promotions with streamers to kick things off, and they still have the big name streamers playing these games. But I think that isn't all. I mean, at the end of the day, it has to be a good enough game. Otherwise people aren't going to stay. I think that's one of the things that allows this game to have pretty good staying power is what I've already talked about already: how smooth the game runs, how optimized it is, how good the fundamentals of the game are, how cool the new features are, how fun the game is to play in general, and how satisfying it is. So I think that gives it a lot of staying power just by how good the game is. If it wasn't a great game, then it would probably go by pretty quickly after all the paid promotion and thing like that was done, right? So I think that that's great news for them. The other big question mark will obviously be the esports side of things, because PUBG has taken a little bit more of a traditional route by having pro leagues and things of that nature and these different LAN tournaments where everyone's kind of competing against each other, and there's a focus on, you know, professional players and the skilled players and not necessarily as much on the streamers, though there has been times where there has been focus. Certain tournaments, certain in-game items have been geared towards the, you know, influencers and people who stream. But the pro leagues are about the top of the line players, the best of the best, and how they perform online in qualifiers and different things, and how they work their way up into the pro league and into big tournaments. So their PUBG has gone kind of that route, which I like a lot. I think that is great. But a lot of other battle royale games have kind of done these, you know, streamer tournaments where it's just like you squad up together as 4, but you know, you're competing as duos, so you break off and you do it that way, or you're just randomly queuing. You accumulate points on wins and kills, which is actually what this game is going to do with Twitch Rivals for kind of their first tournament. But I'm really curious what their long-term vision is going to be for esports. Will we eventually have the right type of spectating tools and the right type of servers to actually have people compete against each other directly, not indirectly by splitting into different lobbies and collecting points against pubs, but actually fighting against one another in one server? Again, is a specking system going to be something that can be figured out, and how it's going to be broadcasted? You know, these are all questions that we will have to answer. And I'm sure it's not just going to be up to this game. It's going to be up to, you know, third parties, tournament organizers, broadcasting companies, what tools they decide to create, how they decide they want to broadcast the game. And it'll be up to Respawn, though, on what direction they want to go with esports. You know, I know that there's already a couple of players who are really good at this game based on being really good at other battle royales or other shooters that have already started getting picked up by organizations. Like Dizzy just got picked up by Energy, was, you know, one that I know, because Dizzy had played at a Mountain Dew League level in Counter-Strike and had been playing Battalion and playing Fortnite. Now he's, you know, sponsored by Energy, and like apparently right now he holds some kill record and does really well. And so there's already some organizational support towards players, perhaps. But with many of the battle royales, orgs just kind of pick up players en masse and then maybe kind of slowly let people go as they figure out what the esports landscape is going to be and how tournaments are going to operate. This is definitely a game I would be super interested in commentating, and not just because it's big. There's been plenty of other games that have blown up that I just wasn't into and didn't even bother trying, really. Overwatch being one of them. I just never really got into it. Same with Fortnite, just really wasn't my thing. The only games I've really ever been interested in working on outside of Counter-Strike lately has been Battalion 1944, PUBG, and then this game, essentially. So definitely curious on its future, but I've been enjoying it a lot so far, and that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please follow, subscribe for more. Catch you next time.